The Scourge are one of the scariest enemies that we have ever fought in WoW, rivaling the terror of even the old gods themselves in my opinion. For one, they are undead. If your enemy is undead, that alone is a reason to be scared of them, because they have discovered a way of how to cheat death, and if your enemy's found a way of how to cheat death, then the last thing that you should probably do is screw with them, because they can just come back until you find a way to cut off the head of the snake, being the Lich King. In addition to that, they aren't just random undead serving their master, they are your friends, soldiers that you knew and fought alongside with, family that once protected you and sacrificed themselves so that you can live to fight another day. But it's just, when that day comes, you're not only fighting the undead legions, you're fighting that family member that once fought with you but is now turned against you. It's perfect. I mean, if you're the Lich King, not only are you building an army from the losses of your enemy, but you're also using them to demoralize your foes. And as if that wasn't enough, they are raised into undeath stronger than they have been in life. So it's like, even if you muster up the willpower and the courage to strike down your friend that is now an agent of the Scourge, could you? That dude is now on anabolic steroids, and it would be a miracle if you could take him on 1v1. But you might sit there and say, they're just zombies, nothing special, zombies are everywhere. The Scourge is not made up of just zombies alone. They have poltergeists at their disposal. The Shade of Naxxramas is pretty much a ghost that stays hidden until it wants to be seen or when it wants to ambush the shit out of you. For example, look at this line right here in the Ashbringer comic. Farrelyn, the blood elf in this scene, asks Castian, a mage, if he hears something whoosh by just outside the light of his staff, as they're trying to infiltrate Naxxramas. So it could be pretty safe to assume that the thing that whooshed by is most likely a Shade of Naxxramas, as they are in Naxxramas and it doesn't reveal itself just yet, but it can also be heard making noises just outside the light of Castian's staff. With an unseen enemy at the Scourge's command, it can be used to do almost anything. Spy on enemies, ambush them when their guard is down, alert Kel'Thuzad of intruders, OP Blizzard, please nerf! But it doesn't stop there. You guys remember the Abominations? They are not just fat zombies, no. They are formed by stitching dozens of corpses together. That's pretty messed up. So when you look at an abomination, do not think of one being, but think of multiple beings that are stitched together into the monstrosity that it is today. But this is the Scourge that we are talking about. They always like to go further and beyond when it comes to messed up things. So how much further can you go than pretty much raising your enemies into undeath and then stitching those enemies together into an abomination? Well, by stitching the abominations together into a flesh giant. You guys may remember this handsome fella. His name is Grobulus, and he is the first flesh giant that has ever been constructed. So he's basically formed by dozens of cadavers, but as if that wasn't disturbing enough, look at what he is wielding. That is a giant ass needle that can impale you and 3 of your friends, turning all of you guys into a human-sized kebab. It also is attached to liquid poison, which is supposed to be injected into you when he sticks you, and it ain't pretty. Farrelyn, the blood elf we mentioned before, actually gets impaled by Grobulus later on in the novel and injected with so much toxic poison that it starts to come out of his mouth. Even though he is dealing with unimaginable pain throughout his entire body though, he tries his best to combat the flesh giant and buy his comrades more time. But eventually he does die. It's such a terrible death for such a noble soldier. I cringed the first time I read it, but don't worry because there is still much more horror to be mentioned. You guys know how when you enter Naxxramas, you hear some woman crying out, These sounds are actually being emitted and coming from Thaddeus, an enormous flesh giant, constructed from only women and children. No men, only women and children. That is fucked. Look how big this guy is. There might be hundreds of women and children in there. You know, you can only guess. I mean, it's scary enough that when you face the Scourge, you have to take into account unseen ghosts, towering giants that can easily inject you with the Nickelodeon slime, and having to fight your former friends, but the real terror is being raised into undeath. You don't know what they can do. They can stitch you together with 12 other people, or they can do something much worse to you, seeing as to how the Scourge loves to experiment on human guinea pigs. But I mean, I guess it's not all that bad. Look at Stitches. That guy seems pretty happy for being an abomination. But really, I just want to say thank you, Blizzard, for giving us the opportunity to face up against the Scourge, one of the greatest enemies I have ever seen in a video game. Ah, Hellscream, what if I could tell you that the terror of the Scourge can be with you wherever you go? Well, that'd be pretty cool. How though? Funny you should ask, Hellscream. Turns out we actually have a once-in-a-lifetime 25% off deal going on right now that you can't find anywhere else. With our most popular battle pet, the right hand of the Lich King himself, Lil KT. Ah yes, absolutely wonderful. Take him wherever you go. Death and famine will follow as well. Truly horrifying. I'm quivering as we speak. Don't worry, Lexington. I'm here for you. Do not be afraid, my sweet child. Thank you, Williamsworth. You comfort me. Well, does he at least have some of Kel'Thuzad's lines? Well, we don't want to be too swamped with work. We aren't machines after all. Absolutely ridiculous, Hellscream. Try not to be an idiot for once. I know how hard that is for you. Yes, truly inconsiderate. If it weren't for your money, I wouldn't even be talking to you.